The Wall Street Journal recently published a video regarding the future of Microsoft and the Xbox. They go into some specifics of what Microsoft is planning, which includes a focus on cloud gaming that we want to react to. The original video is located in the description if you want to see the full version. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, like the video, and make sure to subscribe for more. Enjoy!
This is the Xbox Series X, Microsoft's most powerful flagship console. For a long time, you needed an Xbox to play games like Halo or Gears of War. Then, Microsoft decided you don't. So it launched a monthly subscription service that lets users play the latest games on a bunch of other devices. But it's increasingly competitive and will take a lot of investment to make it work. So will this shift pay off? And what does it mean for the future of the console? This is the economics of Xbox. To entice customers into their ecosystems, most of these companies tried to keep the prices on their consoles as low as possible, selling them at a loss.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people understand that they sell these consoles at a loss, and if they're thinking that this is what they're getting is like the most top of the line thing ever when they sell us hardware that is actually several generations old to get people buying their own stuff. But yeah, it's very interesting.
That was more common previously in the older generations when they were trying to get the biggest player base possible and hoping you'd buy enough games to set the loss off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, another thing too is that a lot of the games are the same. They go cross-platform now. But, you know, back in the day when we were playing Nintendo and Sega and Super Nintendo, the games were vastly different on every platform. So it was like, hey, if I got this on this console, you can only get this kind of experience on Super Nintendo rather than, let's say, Sega Genesis. Because, let's say, Batman and Robin, The Adventures of Batman and Robin were two different games on those separate consoles.
There were a few that were the same. Like, Mortal Kombat was roughly the same across.
Yes, you're right.
They had different blood rules and stuff, but they played very, very comparably.
Very similarly. There was you're right. There were a couple of games that were series, I should say, that are basically the same game on both platforms, but not everyone. Definitely not everyone.
No, for sure.
In 2017, Xbox launched Game Pass, positioning itself as a services brand.
It's more interested in making content available to people on whatever device they choose to play on.
Game Pass is a tiered service. The least expensive plans offer gaming on either console or PC, and the most expensive plan has multi-device gaming and other features like streaming games from the cloud and access to certain games the day they're released. In essence, Microsoft is betting that it can get more customers if they don't have to buy a console. This model also gives the company a recurring revenue stream, so it doesn't have to rely as much on blockbuster successes.
So Game Pass solves the problem on the consumer side by making lots of content available for cheap, and on the business or the supply side in terms of offsetting the financial volatility associated with entertainment.
Microsoft's head of gaming, Phil Spencer, has said Game Pass is profitable.
That's true, and it's not true. It will smooth out your revenue stream, but you are still going to be required to create big, blockbuster, enticing games. Yeah. The same way people stop subscribing to streaming services because they don't have any shows anymore will happen if they don't keep dumping money into these consistent games.
You're very right.
It smooths it out, but it does not solve the problem.
Yeah, and I hate bringing this up, but you know, there's some other cloud gaming platforms out there that just have indie games, and not many people buy from them. Why? Because not many people want to play all those type of indie games. They want to play blockbuster AAA games, or in Ubisoft's case, quadruple A games.
Oh, get that out of your face.
People want to play AAA games. So, I mean, that's what gets sales, and Microsoft always had them, and this is why it works for them. You know, especially out the gate when they started, they had AAA games. They still have AAA games, but if they stop doing that, it'll fall off the wagon big time.
We'll stay in that 10 to 15% of our overall revenue.
But Microsoft isn't the only one stepping into the subscription world. In 2022, Sony merged its subscription services, PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, and relaunched it to compete with Game Pass. There are two key things that give Microsoft an edge. First, it's a much larger company with lots and lots of money. And for the past decade,
That just set you off, huh?
Got lots and lots of money.
They do have that.
Man, I can't believe they passed the 3 trillion mark. Dude, it's insane.
Insane.
It's insane. Yeah, it's insane. I'll just leave it at that for right now. I might touch on that a little later.
Microsoft has been using that money to acquire game studios, beefing up its library. In 2014, it bought Mojang, the maker of Minecraft, for $2.5 billion. In 2021, it bought ZeniMax Media, owner of Fallout and Doom, for $8.1 billion. And in 2023, it finalized the purchase of Activision Blizzard, the maker of Call of Duty and Candy Crush, for $75.4 billion.
To put it in perspective, that is a little bit less than what Sony makes annually.
Second,
We talked about that.
Sorry.
I know.
Wow.
Just a little less. And Hefe and I have talked about this.
Yeah,
Pocket change.
pocket change. Too.
They
People
could buy
Sony.
Sony with pocket
Pocket
change.
Yeah.
And Sony fanboys they've gone nuts over this. It's like
Mhm.
they could, dude, they don't understand that Microsoft is so big. Sony's only like 5%, maybe even less now than what Microsoft is worth. 5%. It's insane.
Mhm.
And as a giant tech company, Microsoft owns lots and lots of data centers, over 300 worldwide, some of which help support Game Pass and cloud gaming.
The incumbents like Nintendo and Sony, they live and die on great content and this magnificent retail distribution infrastructure that they've built. So it's in Microsoft's interest to push into its data centers and its infrastructure in the cloud because it can't beat Sony and Nintendo at retail.
This puts it in an arena that mainly other massive tech companies like Amazon, Nvidia, and Google can really compete in. But there are lots of obstacles. To start, adoption has been slow. In 2020, it targeted 71% subscriber growth and reached 86%. But the following year, it fell short. And in 2022, it missed its target by a long shot.
Some people
Yeah. 2020, we all know what happened in 2020. I don't even want to mention it. The sickness.
Right.
Yeah. And plus, on top of that, GPUs prices went skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Skyrocketed.
They had time to be a PC gamer
mining,
back then.
Bitcoin mining. It was big. So regular gamers are trying to find some way to play the latest game without having it to pay an arm and a leg just to play their game. And with the
a lot of these industries are suffering from that too. It's not just the video game industry, like the movie industry, the streaming industry, like people were just sitting at home with nothing to do and they were consuming this stuff mass. And now people are back to work. We don't have as much time. The growth isn't going to be there the same way.
Right. Exactly. Yep. It's not necessarily the cloud or in that aspect. It's just, hey, things have changed.
Right.
Situations have changed.
You can't plan your future growth around the weird situation we were in that year.
That 2020 was. Yeah, totally. I mean, that was 71%. Look, let me go back. That was, 70. Dude, target growth, actual growth was bigger than target growth. That's insane.
Well, we'll go to the next part. Let's see what their target for 2022 was.
22. It
now,
missed
what
its target by a long
reason
shot.
did they have to think that growth would be greater in 2022 than 2020? What happened that year?
I don't remember anything that was groundbreaking other than certain games that came to or they were trying to push. When did we hear about the acquisition of Activision Blizzard? Was it 2022?
January 18th, 2022 was Microsoft announcing its intent to purchase it. So the beginning of 2022 was their intent to purchase it.
Yeah.
It was completed on October 13th, 2023. That was how long the
Yeah.
negotiations and litigation went.
But I mean, the internet, YouTube talked about how Activision Blizzard games could be coming to Game Pass that whole entire year.
Of course, the rumors
Yeah.
were hot. The rumor mills were thick.
Situations have changed. People are back to work, and now people are being laid off. On top of that, so
That's
it's,
true. They're downsizing and trying to.
They're now everybody's downsizing.
They're downsizing and trying to
If
cut
anything,
their
It might just
paychecks
get
out.
worse before it gets better.
I know. It's also was a lot. It wasn't as hard to get your hands on a next gen console. Also,
Yes.
remember how hard it was to get your hands on a PS5 and on an Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are just not comfortable with the idea of not actually owning a game. They may want to play a game, put it down for 6 months and pick it up later or a year later or more. And it may not be in the subscription service anymore after that time.
So, as of 2024, Game Pass has amassed 34 million subscribers. Some of the biggest challenges are specific to cloud gaming, a feature included in Game Pass's top tier. Traditionally, game data was stored locally on cartridges, discs, or downloaded straight to the console. With online multiplayer games, data like each player's actions were streamed. But with cloud gaming, the entire game is streamed to your device, which can be laggy.
If it's a competitive game, a millisecond can mean the difference between winning and losing.
Cloud gaming is also expensive to operate.
The economics have changed, but they haven't immediately changed to only run a profit. Both of those offerings, whether those are product-based and conventional or whether they are streaming and more digital, both of those run at a loss in principle, but to recuperate and to earn money in those contexts is a very different proposition.
One report found that just 6% of gamers around the world were subscribed to a cloud gaming service in 2023. Still,
6% is a lot bigger than we were actually expecting. Because when we started, it was 1%.
Yeah, it's taking its time. But again, they're getting bundled into more things too, like things that people were going to buy. They're trying to kind of groom people to be more accepting of it by getting them to try it with these things.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of it here in the U.S., but I know I've seen the actual pages. A lot of countries in Europe do this.
Yeah.
Especially NVIDIA partners. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting.
experts believe it will grow substantially.
Cloud gaming is one of those few components where they could possibly thrive and lead, even if that's a much more modestly sized industry.
Microsoft isn't getting rid of the Xbox anytime soon. Later this year, it will release new versions of its current generation, the Series X and S. But it's clear that Xbox views its content as the future of the company, not its hardware.
Yeah, a lot of people think they're going just purely cloud-based. Cloud is going to be part of the Xbox solution. It's Microsoft is actually being friendly, consumer-friendly. They want you to have the option to play however you feel.
We talked about this too. We expect there to be, like there is a disc version console and an all data version console, I'm expecting there to be a cloud only version console that is dirt cheap.
Yes. I think that's why they went with the Amazon Fire TV stick as that option. Once they launch their you play your own game subscription model, whoever, I have no idea when that's going to be, guys. I have no idea. But once they do that, I mean, they're already set up.
They're hesitant to do that, though, because that's a Rubicon. Once they cross that, there's no going back. You can't...
I understand. But here's the thing. I had that whole model set up in one of my previous videos for the games that you own at only, let's say, 1080p. But if you want that 4K, you do have to get that full subscription bundle with Game Pass, so you can play your own game, plus every other Game Pass game that's in there. That's kind of what PlayStation does now.
Right. But the issue is people think that's too complicated. We've seen that in our previous videos, and you and I both know that the customer will get very mad about what they think the deal is instead of actually reading what the real deal is. So
it's true.
Yeah, that's again, once you open that gate, it's going to make people angry one way or another.
Well, that's maybe one of the reasons why they are slowly rolling this stuff out because they have to make it. They have to make it right for anybody.
And they have to teach people. I mean,
And they have
the
to
biggest cautionary tale we have about bad marketing is Stadia. Like,
I know.
come
I was
on.
about to mention that myself. It's like people didn't know what it was and how it worked, and is it a console? Is it a service? What do I do on it? How does it play games? What do I need? And this is a generation gap or generation. This is the next generation of gaming, and people don't know what that really is.
Right. So
So
they
it's
gotta
going to be
careful.
interesting, like the bridge, and with Xbox's reveal of their next hybrid console in 2028. I think that's a good thing, but it's supposed to be play your own games or play your games on the Xbox or through the cloud. And I think that's more. This generation coming up is going to be a bridge between that gap until they go into something else entirely down the road. But we'll see.